I would like us to use the basic body torso for the Bustier pattern. Bustier pattern. So how can we manipulate our basic torso into Bustier? So I'll be taking us through that using the basic sloper. So if you haven't gotten my sloper, you can DM and then we will deliver with fast track after you're done paying. So now the first thing, we have some supplementary measurements that we needed to use when drafting a bustier. Those are, we need nape to bust point, which is also the napes. We need nape to underbust. We need bust point to bust point, sorry. And we need underbust circumference. So nape to my bust point is 11. Nape to underbust is 14 and a half. Bust point to bust point is 8, while my underbust circumference is 32. So quarter of my underbust circumference is 8 centimeter, 8 inches. So we'll be using quarter for the circumference. So now the first thing I'll do is to input my nape to bust point, sorry, in inches. Nape to bust. So I'll be starting from the dart leg towards the central front. The dart leg towards the central front. $11. So this is 11. So the only thing I'll just do is to re-elongate it. Like this. I will re-elongate it. So after re-elongating, the next thing I will do is I will input my nape to underbust. So from the dart leg towards the central front down. So my dart to underbust is 14 and a half. 14 and a half. I'll square an horizontal line towards the side seam and the central front. So after done with this, the next is the bust point to bust point. So from the central front, I'll measure 4 inches and it is perfect. But note, if you are working for a bust point to bust point of 10, maybe the half of it is 5. You know, 8, half of 5 is half of 8 is 4. So we are using half of the 4 for our slope, for our illustration. So now if you are working, if your client's bust point is 10 and you want to input 5, so let's say we are inputting 5 and this is 5, so I'll use pencil for this. So I'll input 5, so this is 5 here, and then the next thing you do is to reallocate the dart. Reallocate it, connecting the dart leg, the two dart leg to the 5 inches point. So you can see I just reallocated it. I reconnect the dart leg, reconnecting the dart leg. So I reconnect the dart leg. If it is 4.5, you will still reconnect the dart leg. So this is how you do it. If it is 5, you reconnect the dart leg, and then you reconnect the waist line, the waist dart. You also reconnect the waist dart. You reconnect the dart, the shoulder dart, and the waist dart. So now we are not reconnecting for mine. I'll be cleaning. So it's just an illustration. on how to do it. So you reconnect the darts. So the next thing we do is to input our underbust circumference. But before we input underbust circumference, I would like us to tighten our cleavage from the starting from the shoulder line. So we need to tighten our cleavage. You have to tighten your cleavage. If you don't tighten your cleavage, your cleavage point will be loose, while it won't look nice. But we want it perfect, and we want it clean on our bust line. So the first thing I will do is, we have some rules. This is what I use for bust 33 to 36. You use 100%. For bust 37 to 42, you use 80%. So for bust 44 to 60, you use 50 and 30%. So it's either you use 50 or 30. So it depends on how sharp the bust curve will look like. If you see, if it is too sharp, just quickly use 30%. If it is not too sharp, you can now use 50. Because if you use 100% for everything, you won't like it. When you are done manipulating, the outcome will not be nice. So because my bust fall into 37 to 42, I'll be using 80% for the bust tightening. So now my dart. So how do we do it? We measure our dart. My dart is 8 centimeters, and then 80 divided by 100, which is 0.8 times 80 times 8, sorry. So we have 6.4. So we need to distribute 6.4 at the shoulder line. So this is how it goes. The dart leg towards the armhole gets the bigger circumference, while the dart leg towards the central front gets the smaller circumference. I repeat it. The dart leg towards the armhole gets the bigger circumference, while the dart leg towards the central front get the smaller circumference. I'll input 5 centimeters here and 1.4 over here. So this is how I do it. 5 centimeters here and 1.4 over here. So the next thing I'll do is to reconnect. I'll be connecting it to the bust point. We connect it to the bust point. So after connecting to the bust point, so we can now work on our underbust tightening. So it's the same rules goes for the underbust tightening, but let's measure first. So our measurement for our underbust. So we just try to get the pattern underbust, excluding the underbust dart. So if you are measuring, we won't be adding the dart to it. So I'll be using inches. So we have 6.5 here. So I'll move that 6.5 to the dart leg towards the central front, and we have 10. Our dart is 10 inches. So this is the formula that you use to tighten the underbust, which is the underbust pattern, the underbust circumference, sorry, which is 10 minus the main waist circumference. The main underbust circumference, which is 8. So if we minus 10 from 8, it will give us 2 inches. So we need to distribute the 2 inches at the underbust. 10 minus 8, which is the pattern circumference minus the main underbust circumference. So it will give us 2 inches. So how do we distribute the 2 inches? The dart leg towards the side seam gets the bigger circumference, while the dart leg towards the central front gets the smaller circumference. So this is what I'll do. I will input 1.114 here, and then 5.7 over here. 1.147 over here. to make it perfect. So this, we've tightened our underbust. So the next thing is to measure if it's correct and perfect. Please, you have to measure and see if it is correct. So I would like you to use pencil when you are drafting your wool, so it will be very easy to clean off. I'm using marker because some people might not see it when I'm doing, if I'm using pencil. So we measure, this is 5/1/4, and when we moved here, we have the main 8 centimeter. We have we have 8 inches. We have 8 inches here, so it is perfect. So our underbust is perfect. We have 8 inches at the underbust. So the first thing is I'll be elongating it. I'll just elongate it to the down part this way. I'll also elongate this over here. And then we don't want our bustier bodice to belong to the hip line. We want it a little bit nice and let it stay at the upper hip line. We want it at the upper hip line, not the lower hip line. You know, this is the lower hip line. We want it at the upper hip line. So the next thing I'll do is to come up by 4 inches or 3.5. Let's do 3.5. And I'll square a vertical line. Sorry, an horizontal line. So after squaring an horizontal line, so we can now move to the upper part. We need to curve, we need to give our bustier a nice curve. So how do we do that? So I'll be using pencil for this. So if there's anything cleanable, I can clean. So there won't be anything like I can't clean the. So I'll be covering from the tightened leg, that leg towards the armhole like this. Just placing my curve roller. And then I'll blend. So I just switch to my curve ruler to connect to the underbust, like so. So the next thing I'll do is to connect this to the underbust this way, and then I'll blend. I'll be blending this for the start. Blending this. So I won't be leaving this bust curve like this, because if I leave it this way, it will be too sharp when you are done sewing. There's this sharpness at the bust line when you are done sewing, but we don't want that. So the next thing I'll do is to come out, like reshape it. Also connect to the underbust like that, so you can see. So I'll just clean the initial one and we blend. Very important. Also blend this one. We blend it well. Once it's properly blended. So now I can now use marker because I really like it this way. And then please don't forget to input your bust point line, so there won't be anything like error. I will curve it with my marker because I like it this way. So you can use pencil for yours. Now I told you I'm using this in order for people to see what I'm doing, and then I would curve this one. This group is mainly for those using NATHALIE Bray. Yes, NATHALIE Bray. So I am actually doing this for those who has gotten my sloper and they do message me that they were unable to use it. They don't know how to go about it. So this is how to use NATHALIE Bray for Bustier, for bespoke use. Bespoke use, that's Ashwebi for bespoke use, Bustier for bespoke use. So now we've tightened the we've done our curve. So the next thing we do is to get our cleavage line. Like we need to design, give it a curve. So the first thing is I'll be slashing through this in order for us to fold it to get a perfect curve for our cleavage. So what I did was to cut it to the bust point. I slash it to the bust point. And then I'll be closing up from the tightening that leg, not the first dart leg, which is our normal dart leg. So I'll be using my tape to hold it down. And I'll also start covering. So I'll be using pencil for this one first, before I use marker. So I'll be coming up by 1/2 inches because I don't really like my bust showing as my armpit line. I don't like it. So I'll be coming up by 1/2 inches. I will elongate. I'll be using my pencil first while I will be cuffing. So it depends on how deep you want your central front. I don't know. So me, I don't want it too deep, but I want it perfect and nice and smart. So it depends on how deep you want your central front. So I would be cuffing. Depends on how deep you want your central. So I don't want my own too deep. So you can see this is where I want it. I don't want it too deep, but I want it perfect and smart. So now we are done cuffing. So you can see if you don't close this dart, you won't get a perfect line for this one. You have to start covering here, covering there. So I always like my work very neat. If not because I want people to see what I'm doing, I love using pencil than using marker. So you can see we've done cuffing. So now I would like us to work on the back bodice, work on the back sloper.